Hi there, this is Naomi with the Naomi Butler Show. I'm trying to make sure everything's in the camera here. Today is going to be packed full of a lot of stuff. We're talking about artist tips, and in the previous two videos you saw numbers 1 through 10, and I had to break them up because the video stopped. So we're going to see how this works today. I need to move my camera or my phone just a tiny bit so I know where I am. Okay, I want to kind of go over a bunch of stuff, but in those previous ones, it was kind of getting you going in the right direction and just including some must-have tools. Well, we're going to get to the actual painting time today, and if you remember, we talked about scheduling studio time on your calendar. Set an appointment with yourself, and you want to take time to do what you love. And so spend some time scheduling those dates on your calendar, whether or not you actually use them, but give yourself permission to be you, to paint, to have fun, and it's all part of balancing your life. Okay, so number 11 is using fun items to play with in your painting. And I'm going to show you what I've done. This one's packed full of over 25 ideas just in number 11. And what I did is I wrote on pieces of paper of different things you can do. And this is an old coffee can because I forgot to tell you about one of those must-have items. You need water buckets. I usually have 1 or 2 going. It's good to have 1 to, after you dab your brush on a paper towel to get as much paint off, you rinse it off in one, and then you rinse it off in the other to really rinse it good. So that will help. But right now, I have all these ideas in this coffee bucket, and we're just going to pull one at a time. We're going to have fun. We're going to make a mess. Yes, that's right. We're going to make a mess. So we started out in the last one dancing like no one's watching. So today we're going to put the energy into painting. And what I did is I brought this same painting back that we're going to continue and a tiny little bitty canvas that I might do some of these things on. So there's at least 25 ideas in here. We're going to get started. I'm just going to pull one, and each one I may tell you something about. All right, it says make marks with a wood grain tool. This is just another simple little tool, and I'm just going to dab it into some paint and make some marks. And this already had some gesso texture on it, so it's got some good texture. This one has no texture, so I'm just going to make a mark. I did that. And I need to drop it into the paint bucket and clean it off if I can immediately. That's just something, or you can let it set. Okay, that's one. This is the next one. Scrape paint onto painting with a palette knife. And so I'm going to take a palette knife, and I'm just going to take some paint and just scrape paint on to the canvas with the palette knife. We might not scrape the same colors. We might not do the same thing. We're just playing. Again, all we're doing is making a mess and playing. Okay, next one is, this may be a long video. Make dots with pencil eraser. Okay, what I do is I take just the pencil eraser and I'll dab it into a certain color, whatever, and make pencil dots. And we'll do the same thing over here somewhere. So that really just adds, and because that's wet, that may not show up yet, but I'm going to make one there. There we go. All right. And I'm going to wipe that pencil off for just a little bit. So that was that one. And I had pulled that too. So the next one was stamp dots with stencil and a makeup remover. And I made this stencil, just so you know, with a hole punch to punch holes. And then I took some of these makeup sponges that you buy that are in these little triangle shapes, and I dried them because they have that stuff on them. So I'm just going to take some white paint to give some contrast here and just kind of dab some dots with this white paint. If it will work in this wet paint, it may not. But there's some dots there. I'm going to go over here and make some dots there. You can also make stencils with a glue gun and glue. I made some really fun ones doing that. You just take the hot glue and have some wax paper and just make circles with it, and then once it cures, pull that up and use that as a stencil. It really is fun to use, and it makes a cool stencil. Okay, we're going to keep going. I'm going to set a few of them out, and I'm just going to pull one. Stamp with paper towel. Some of these are going to go quick. We're going to take a paper towel, and we're just going to find some paint and stamp into this painting. So this is just making different marks. You might even do something like that. So that's just stamping with a paper towel. Okay, turn painting upside down. Hey, I'm gonna leave that one alone, but I'm gonna turn this one upside down. It looks like a flag in a way. Isn't that interesting? All right, and then add washes. I'm gonna use water on this. And these are thinned out washes with a lot of water. So I'm going to take the same blue and maybe make some washes. You see how it's lighter? And so it's not as dark because it's thinned out with water. And I actually took some of the other color and added to it so it created another color. All right. Again, we're just making a mess. Use fluid paint with water bottle. Okay, I have some golden fluid. It's a magenta color. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my fingers. I'm going to spread it up here. And then I'm going to use the water bottle. And actually, one of the things that is in here is make drips, and I just did it. But also you can spread it with your fingers. And that fluid paint has such good pigment. And I'm going to spray my finger and add some to the canvas. You can water it down even more and make another wash. Okay, paint with fingers was next. How about that? So I'm just going to take some white. And I'm going to just swirl it in, and because I've already got paint there, I'm making some more marks with my fingers. It's always fun to get paint in your fingers. Again, we're just on number 11. Use plastic fork. I'm going to use a plastic fork to scrape into the painting, and it might pull some of it down, might not. You see how it pulls into that wet paint and makes another mark. That's just another little fun idea. Paint with your non-dominant hand. So I'm just going to take that paintbrush and paint with my left hand, which who knows what you're going to do when you do that. There we go. Draw circles with paint. All right, let's do that. Let's draw some circles with paint. And we're going to have different sizes, and we might have some on top of other colors, but we're just drawing circles. I think you can draw squares, so we'll draw some squares. Again, we're just playing. All right. Next one is use the brayer. All right. I have a small brayer, and I'm going to add some blue and some white paint together, and I'm just going to go over this top like this. This is creating a different effect. Who knows, we might even create some kind of a landscape here. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take this one and maybe do something like that. So you can create a different look with a brayer, and you can see the sides made some marks there. You can even mark into it with the side if you want. This is just, again, showing you some ideas. All right, we have a few more. Let's see here. Make splatters with fingers. Lots of water and paint. I had watered down some paint here, so I'm going to use my fingers and make splatters. There you go. Use bubble wrap. Bubble wrap you can use all kinds of ways. You can take it and stamp into something and then stamp it on in another spot, or you can even paint onto it with brush, with paint, and then stamp it. And that was not a good way to see it because it's not a lot of paint on there. So let me do it again. Let me do that and then stamp. And it might, because it's washed out, it's not a dark color, so I'm just stamping with that bubble wrap. Okay, that's another idea. Stamp a circle. Okay, here's what I was going to show you because I have, looking for it right now. I have a little container lid that I must have dropped. Tell you what, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to find something else. All right, I'm going to put, this is just a lid, and I'm going to put some paint around it. You can take anything you want. I'll probably find that little top thing in a minute. It was the top to a hairspray thing. Anyway, stamp a circle. And because I already had some liquid paint in there, it's kind of making some drips. But you can paint a circle with that. All right, make splatters with paint, water, and brush. All right, what I'm saying about that is if I take some liquefied paint, like I've got a lot of water in this blue, and because these are standing up, they may drip, but that's okay. And then you take another brush, you can use a fan brush for this or any other brush, and just tap the brush that's got a lot of paint loaded up and make splatters. So that's just a fun way to make splatters. You can just throw it on. If you add it to a fan brush, you can do this. You can do it with a toothbrush, that kind of thing. Use palette knife to paint with. I'm going to take just this palette knife here, and I'm going to add some more of that color up here. Even though it's still wet, I'm painting with a palette knife. And you can mark into it. Palette knives are so cool for so many things. Use the makeup remover to make shapes and marks, which I already had used, and so I'm going to put it back into another color, and I'm going to stamp that shape into the painting. Make marks in wet paint with back of brush. If you take any brush that you're using, I'm just going to take this one that I hadn't cleaned out yet, and you can make marks with the back of your brush. Makes an awesome way to make marks. Use rubber wedge to spread paint. That's one of these, and you can just take and spread what you've got on here, however you want to do it, or you can take some of that paint there. I'm spreading it there, and you can take a whole lot of paint and make some marks, however you want to do it. Use rubber wedge to make marks. That same rubber wedge, we could do this, and it's hard to tell, but it's making some marks already. If I put it up here, it's got some wet paint, so it might make some marks on that white canvas. All right, we got a few left. Make marks with colored pencils. All right, let's just make marks with colored pencils. You can't see them because they're really light. Make drips with water bottle. We did that, but we can try it again and see if any of these others are still wet. Maybe not. There we go. That one's wet. And you can let that dry. Make marks with pencil or graphite. Pencil works great. It's cheaper than graphite. Anything goes here. All right, and this one says write words or quotes on painting, which it ended up being last, and I would have liked to have done that first, but that's okay. I'm going to write into this, I'm going to write the word energy, because that's what I want every day, and it's not going to come through real good. I'm going to write into that wet paint, giving God the glory. What I usually do is do that at the beginning of a painting, but this time I was just taking them as they happened in just the little notes that I'd written, so that's okay. So this is, as you could tell, these are just a lot of fun ideas and kind of gets you going. It's a good warm-up. And are we having fun yet? Of course we are. All right, so that was number 11, and it already had at least 25 ideas in it, okay? So number 12, what to do with a blank canvas. You may have some kind of an idea of what you want to paint. That's great. And think about the composition, the structure. We'll talk about composition later. In the meantime, look up and study compositions for different paintings. If you have no idea and like to paint intuitively, maybe start with a lot of these things that we did and see where it takes you. Just be free, just have fun, enjoy the freedom of not worrying about what it looks like. You can let that dry and then keep adding to it. I've had times when something happened and maybe thought it was a mistake, and it actually ended up looking so cool. So it's like the painting has its own mind sometimes. Don't be concerned with that blank canvas. Just make marks with a pencil, write those words or quotes, and then kind of start having fun. All right, we're going to talk about paints and brushes. Go to your local craft store and buy the cheaper paints to begin with, cheaper brushes, palette knives. I use plastic knives. I have the expensive ones, but I tend to use these a whole lot more, probably 95% of the time compared to the other expensive ones. So don't go spend a lot of money and buy those expensive supplies yet. You can also use gesso as your white paint. And Artist Loft at Michael's has it in a bucket like this, but you don't want to keep that bucket on your palette area or your studio area. This is a Liquitex one. I actually made a hole in it, so I taped it, and I'm emptying that into a small container that I use in my studio. You can save small containers and use them for your gesso or for other mixed colors that you might have mixed up. Like I mixed a gray in there. These with the lids tend to normally last and stay moist. Sometimes they don't. I have this mint green color that I mixed up, which was so pretty, and the other day I was going to go into it and it's dry. So I will take that out, scrape all that off, and clean it up. Can start all over, and it still may last for another year or so in there. The gesso that I was talking about is cheaper than buying white, and it works just great for a white for a plain white or adding it into other colors. So you don't have to go buy the white. The gesso's a whole lot cheaper. We're going to talk about palettes. And I had a video that I did in June last year about different kind of palettes that you can use. And one of them was talking about putting freezer paper, shiny side up, on cardboard. Like I did this, I just taped the back. This is for use when you only need a little bit of paint and you're going to be done that day and you don't need to save it. If you want to save it, I use the Masterson palette, which it doesn't come with it. You can buy the yellow pad, and that yellow pad costs more, and so I use felt. And I'll take the felt, put it in the bottom, wet it down, and then I'll take palette paper that Masterson provides and put one of those sheets down, wet it down, put the paints on, maybe spray a little bit with water, keep them moist and wet, and then you have a lid for those when you're through. And that lid kind of suctions down and you have it closed when you're through. That will keep them moist for a whole lot longer. And I've been using these two for a while. I'm already starting to get holes in it. I need to change my palette out, so I will get to that someday. But this is just another way to keep your painting or your paints going for a lot longer. You will also want to, let's see, I think I put down that at the end of the day, spray the paints with some water before you put the lid on. That's just a little extra way to keep them moist. Okay, the next one, number 15, is do other artsy things during those in-between times that you're in your creative space, in your studio. And that's feeding your creativity, writing in your sketchbook that we talked about, in your art journal. It could be reading and looking at art books. Go to Half Price Books. They have some fun ones that might be pertaining to what you like. Study up on art techniques that interest you. Number 16 is watch other painting videos, especially the how-to videos. Look at images and photos of art that interests you. Sorry, I'm standing in the way of the paintings. Take photos of some of them. Take screenshots with your iPad or your phone so you can refer back to them later. They may give you ideas that you didn't even think about. I've watched a ton of painting videos over the years. Number 17, you could take art classes in person or online. Online are good because most of them are at your own pace. The prices vary for those, so you might start out with some that are less expensive. Number 18, go to garage sales or estate sales, and you're going to find things, all kinds of texture items. I have found old plastic things that use like an old comb that had long fingers, and I scraped into it. And I've bought lots of colored pencils, graphite, just so many brushes, palettes, glue gun and glue, all kinds of stuff that just didn't cost very much. And even kids' art supplies. You never know when you might be painting with your grandkids like I've done. I even asked them if they have any art supplies. I had one of them go back in the house and brought a bunch of stuff back out. So you just never know. And watch for sales at the arts and craft stores too. Number 19, go on a creative outing, touring galleries with another artist friend. My friend Sanaa, who's an artist, and I did this years ago. And then also my other friend Doug King and I did this. We all were doing some different gallery tours, and it's so much fun seeing new paintings, new ways they do things, and it gets your mind thinking, oh, I got to get back to the studio, I got to get back to paint. Number 20, keep showing up. It's baby steps. You're planting seeds in your creativity growth, in your creative zone, if you will. Don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Even if you're thinking, oh, I've got to sell stuff, don't get discouraged if you don't sell right away. It takes sometimes years to get there, to paint and find your way. Just keep on painting and having fun. And another item I did is I painted this t-shirt, and this is one of my painting shirts now. You can practice on cardboard, guys. If you don't want to buy canvas, just get some cardboard. It's free out there. You can find it anywhere to practice on. And one of the topics in the next video for artist tips number 21 through 30 will be about marketing you and your art, getting your name out there. So stay tuned for more. I know this was a long video. I hope you are enjoying these videos, and I'm definitely enjoying sharing this information with you. My main goal when I paint is to have fun and enjoy the process. So if you enjoy my videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Naomi Butler Show. Ring the notification bell so you can be notified when I have new videos. And also follow me on Instagram at naomi.butler. And I probably have some other things. Here's a bonus one. I cut these two little 5x5 pieces of cardboard, put gesso on them. And something I wanted to do with a lot more of them is kind of paint some intuitive things with words on them. And I have the little rings to hold them together so you can turn them over for that day, whatever. That's just another little simple idea of being creative. And I just found the little thing that I wanted to make circles with. So there we go. All right. I think that's it for now. Sorry that it was a little bit longer, but number 11, as you could tell, was packed full. So even though this is numbers 11 through 20, it's more like 11 through 45 or something like that. So hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.